hold it all day. But it'll be great for you to talk about how the dogs, and then imagine a human going through
the same thing.
Oh.
Because also in most other countries that still allow it, they are very, very tight restrictions around it. So a normal person can't use it for their house.
Ah.
It's like only for, like, have to get very, very special permission to be able to buy it and use it. Here, anyone can buy it.
I know, when I Googled it, and I seen like throughout the Pacific for like decades, people have been using it for suicide, and no one has stopped it. Like, well, except for like maybe the other countries.
Fiji just
Yeah, Fiji. And I was looking at Fiji, and I was like, wow, it's everywhere in the Pacific.
Yeah, those countries.
It's so crazy. It's like
because most of the
Whatalo whātu lau whasausaunga Samoa o lau polokalame māsani le nei o le tupulanga moa Taeao tuuina atu e lau wala ata o le TV tolu ma le Brown Girl Woke ia solulu umalava. Good morning malo ilili and talo for lava Samoa. You know what time it is. It is Generation for Tomorrow brought to you by TV3 and Brown Girl Woke. To wherever you are tuning in from, whether it be in Samoa, around the Pacific, across the sea, across the globe, wherever, hi, and welcome back. Before we go on, I'd like to say a big shout out to my co-host and partner, Prince Va'a, who is across the sea for his games. Good luck to you, and thank you again for tuning in, Samoa. This is Generation for Tomorrow, a youth talk show where we, talk on taboo issues happening in Samoa, and also promote our young entrepreneurs and also celebrate our young champions in Samoa. It is my great pleasure to introduce that I am here with the amazing, the one, the only, the founder of Brown Girl Woke. Good morning, boss.
Good morning. I'm sitting in for Prince as he is in New Zealand playing rugby. And just like Tia said, big shout outs. We hope you win or lose, just like Toa Samoa, you win our hearts. We're excited this Wednesday to have amazing guests. We know that a big movement for Brown Girl Woke. We've been going to the schools on suicide awareness. We just finished going to Chanel 2 weeks ago. It's exam week. We are going to go back into the schools again. We're thankful for Mr. T and Asualu that has been coming with us, along with us, to the schools. It's been amazing. Tia had exams, so she missed out going to the last school, but it's not going to stop us from doing this work. One of the biggest reasons we have this beautiful guest with us today is because of a lot of the suicides have been, a lot of the youth, or not even youth, anyone that's been doing suicide has been using this drug called paraquat. I don't know if I could call it a drug, but it's the weed killer. So we brought her on so we could just talk about it and the petition that they have been doing, because people have also been using it to kill animals. We have the president of the Animal Protection Services with us. Johanna, thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we've been talking for like weeks, and this is our first time meeting each other. So even before the show, we were talking so much. I was like, okay, we have a show right now to talk about. First, before we go into about paraquat, can you just tell us a bit about yourself and then Animal Protection Services?
Oh, okay. So I'm the brand new president for the Animal Protection Society, and what we provide there in services is general animal health, so it's vaccinations, flea and worm treatments, desexing, and if there's any injuries or anything, we help as much as we can.
Do a lot of people come in?
Yes.
Oh, that's
A
good.
lot. Our clinic is always very, very busy.
Oh, I know a lot of people, because you see so much stray dogs, and you just wonder if people really do protect. But I have like animal lover friends. Big ups to Melamwala, Rona Lee. They're my they show each other their pictures of their dogs.
Yeah.
So I have animal lover friends here in Samoa, but I know that we don't have that much stray dogs. I grew up coming to Samoa my whole life, and there used to be more, so I don't see it as much. How long has APS been in Samoa?
APS has been around for over 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've only been involved for just over 3, but we have doubled, sometimes even tripled the numbers of desexings that we do now, like just in the last few years. So the message is getting out there that desexing definitely works a lot better than just culling because it controls the population better.
I think that it's been working because I don't see as much dogs everywhere since I was a kid, right, Tia?
Yeah. I'm aware that you, we had we've only been coming in once because you guys offered a free service for desexing,
Yes.
I believe, and that was amazing. And I believe I'm part of the people who has never really heard much of your organization. Better yet, I didn't even know you guys are a nonprofit. Am I right?
Yes, that's right. We're a non-profit. We work on a strictly cost recovery basis. So any charges that you get from the clinic are simply the costs of the drugs and the costs of having our volunteers here to service our animals.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, let's talk on this petition. Do tell us, what's the purpose? What is it about?
Okay, so over 2 years ago now, we noticed that there was a huge spike in the dog poisoning cases that we were seeing at the clinic. We went up to about 30 dogs per month were coming in that we had to euthanize because they were so severely poisoned. Now, some of these were accidental because somebody had sprayed paraquat around the house, and then the paraquat, if it rains, will accumulate into a puddle, and then you know how dogs love to drink from puddles. So sometimes it was just purely accidental from someone spraying paraquat around the house. Sometimes, again, it's malicious. As we all know, most of us have experienced having a dog poisoned purposefully. It's really upsetting. So that was the first time I heard about paraquat. The vets were telling me about this terrible spike, and so I started doing some research. I thought, oh my gosh, we have to try and do something about this. Why is this terrible chemical being sold here in Samoa? And then the more research I did, the more terrified I became, because it's not only bad for poisoning our animals, but it's also unfortunately used here for people to commit suicide. But also, if you're just spraying it, and if you're not wearing all the very, very covered up safety gear, including full headgear, boots, gloves, you are opening yourself up to get cancer, brain disease, and lung disease. Yeah, and that doesn't even go into the environmental impacts.
So this specific drug, let's just call it that. So for this petition, how long has it been around to ban it?
The petition started in 2020. That's when we first started trying to get it out there, because we thought that the best way to show the government that we don't want this chemical here in this country was to get the support from the public.
Has it been hard? Especially, I know that just because, like I said earlier, there's a lot of stray dogs and people don't seem to care about animals. Is that why it's been hard to tell the government to care about animals, because the drug is killing animals, or people are using it to kill animals?
I don't think so. I think it's purely just a lack of information. It's really hard to get the information out there, which is why I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about it here on the show. Social media has been a great platform, but you can only reach so far.
You know, I believe, you know, I can only imagine the challenge of trying to ban this when the people that are bringing it in, are using it, are, you know, even creating it, are, you know, saying that there is a use for it, and maybe trying to say that there are ways where we could prevent these certain things from happening, you know, but not banning it. You know, is that like a challenge for you, trying to fight all these other thoughts?
Yes. One of the options, if the powers that be don't see that it's the best idea to do a total ban, another way around it would be to have extremely tight restrictions based on this chemical, wherein you can't just purchase it and have it sitting in your house. You can't use it just to spray the weeds around your house. It would only be used for very specific purposes. I know that the farmers have a great deal of concern around banning this product because they're afraid that any other products are going to be too expensive. To be honest, I'm pretty sure that nobody has even looked into the expenses of bringing in an alternative, because alternatives not only will they work better, but also you might not have to spray them as often. And so in that way, it will actually work out to be cheaper. But at the moment, the suppliers, most of the chemical supply in the country is paraquat, unfortunately, for herbicide.
Like I was telling you earlier, I started researching on paraquat, and it's something that's been spread throughout the Pacific, like Fiji, I think it was Solomons and Vanuatu. They've also seen people using it for suicide as well, but they have been putting restrictions on it. And I know you said that would be a great idea. I think that's a great idea as well, to make sure that not anyone could buy it, but anyone can, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to go into a store and anyone can just get it.
Anyone can purchase it?
You are supposed to go and get yourself a permit from quarantine before you can purchase it. Last time I checked, the permit cost 20 tala, and there weren't any restrictions around who could. It was just to provide a stopgap for people so that they had to go and take one step before they could go and actually purchase it. But anyone can get a permit.
We'll be right back with this great conversation. I hope you're tuning in and listening. We have another 15 minutes with amazing JOHANNA to talk about paraquat and what we can do and sign this petition. It's Johanna, right? Oh. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to Generation for Tomorrow, a youth show about taboo issues, things that are happening in Samoa that we don't talk about. We've been having an amazing conversation with the beautiful Johanna from Animal Protection Society about paraquat and what we can do to be a part of this petition. We talked about earlier, you don't have enough signatures.
I don't think we have enough signatures, no, to make an impact.
Yeah, and when you sent it to me, I sent it to my kids, and we were all trying to sign it, and we were trying to find ways on how can we make sure to get more people on board. So we're hoping with Brown Girl Woke in the new year that we can start doing protests. Go in front of all the stores and like, don't buy a paraquat. But just I'm also talking about, I had a really good friend that went on Facebook about his dogs that were poisoned. And you were talking about, I was asking you the symptoms, like, do you just know right away, or does the vet tell you?
The vet will definitely confirm, but you can have a pretty good inclination that your dog has been poisoned with paraquat if they're struggling to breathe, and if they'll have ulcers in their mouth, and that's always caused by paraquat. But if you see your dog suffering and you're pretty sure it's not going to make it, best thing to do is bring it up to APS and we can help it pass on.
Would that be the same symptoms as somebody that was committing suicide using it?
Yes, yep. Vomiting also, I forgot to mention. Yeah, quite violent vomiting.
And we were talking earlier, I was telling you that we've been seeing TikToks of kids that the way that we know that they use paraquat is that they show them at the hospital and they drink the the medicine that helps them. Yeah. But they've been making videos where their family and friends are saying goodbye to them, which is really, we don't want it to, it's heartbreaking because we don't want it to be trending for kids. Like to think that this is the time where they feel like they're getting seen.
Yeah,
and
it shouldn't be a way to find attention because it's the last thing you will ever do. It's the last attention you'll ever get. Yeah,
and social media hasn't been helping, especially using that, thinking that video will be forever, but it's not. There's so many ways you could change your story. You could tell your story, whatever you're going through. I know that a lot of youth go through a lot of things. We all went through it. You're not the only person, but I think one thing that we want to do to be a part of this initiative is to try to take paraquat off. I told you earlier, I also talked to the police and I asked them about their statistics. So there's been 27 suicides this year. There was 39 suicides last year. I asked them what was the main like drug or use of death, and they also said paraquat. And I asked them, so how do we make sure to take this off the shelves? And they said they couldn't do anything because it was a house good item or it was for farmers, but we can, right?
Yeah, there are alternatives out there. Much safer alternatives. The suppliers need to be encouraged to seek them out and bring them in.
And I think we were talking about that, right, Tia? Like, why wouldn't it be better if it did cost a few more dollars to make sure that our kids are safe, the next generation is safe? Like you said earlier too, Johanna, you said that you might not see the effects now, but it will come, like if you're not wearing the suits, if you're not making sure there's safety. There's a lot of things that we don't do that's safe, but we just went through COVID for 3 years to be safe. I think this is the year that we make everything safe, like make sure that we take time.
And be really heavy on restrictions and just health in general, and especially with protecting our kids. I mean, I cannot imagine how hard it is to push this petition in Samoa because, agriculture is everything in Samoa, and I mean, I could imagine, farmers fighting for their rights to use this specific drug. I mean, and as you have mentioned, it doesn't really help much. I mean, we don't really need it, right? Am I correct? As you have mentioned, it'll just do its thing right then and there.
Yes.
Kill whatever, right? But the roots, as you have mentioned, it does not. It's just the surface, right? Not the root. So it's just for a few more dollars that you can spend on something that's much safer. And also, you know, without kids around, I mean, just a few more dollars to save a few lives and ensure that your kids are safe. And, you know, maybe without this being on our shelves, maybe then our kids will, you know, go there and not find it and think, oh yeah, sit there and think a minute, you know. Maybe it'll give them time to, you know, progress and think of other ways to not to deal with things besides, you know, turning to this drug. I mean,
Exactly.
that is why it's really important, and I hope that we do get a lot of signatures for this, because we have been starting to promote it on our social media, our platforms, and I hope everyone could jump on this, because it's not just the trend for the week. I mean, our kids are dying. That's something huge. So I think my take on this is, you know, with the lack of information, you know, knowledge is power. I feel like if people dig in deeper into this, the effects and everything else, there are much more better drugs that we could use to, you know, deal with all the other effects that you use for the specific drugs. But yeah, I hope everyone could just ban it.
Is there anything else we could do or anyone at home can do to be a part of this?
Besides online?
I think at the moment signing the petition would be the number one, because we are drafting a letter to the Minister of Agriculture laying out our concerns, and we will be submitting the petition with the letter. So having as much support from the public as possible, I think right now is the number one. If they see fit to continue selling paraquat in Samoa, then we might look at a few more steps. And then perhaps we could speak again, and we might find more ways for everybody else to help.
Yeah, I think I love the part where we talk about like what's the safer way, that it's not that much cheaper. Like you said earlier, it doesn't even kill the root. You have to use it a few times. It's cheaper, but you have to keep using it, when you could buy something that's probably a little bit more expensive, but you won't use it as often. It's safe for kids. And like I said, when I talked to the police department, they were saying parents just need awareness and just need to make sure that kids are not using it in their house. And we know that everyone's busy. And you can't like lock. I mean, people probably wouldn't think of locking, you know, the poison in their houses. It's just taking it off. Why can't we just do that? Not making sure that everyone, parents are watching their kids to make sure they're not using this drug. We gotta make restrictions. I would love for it that not everyone could just buy it. Like you have to have a farmer's license, and you have to like show proof that you have all these things before you even can purchase it.
Yes.
But I think, like you said, the knowledge to the farmers, like showing them like, hey, if you pay for this will save you from using paraquat 1,000,000 times, because you probably buy more anyways. Like you said, if you're using it so often. But we will have the petition on our website on Brown Girl Woke. Please go also to APS. Is the petition on the website?
Yes, the petition's on the APS Facebook page.
Oh, I see. So, and then we'll probably try to do more work or do workshops for people to come in to talk to them. But you said that their MAF is actually gonna ban it. They were on the radio yesterday, or?
Oh, so they're not going, they haven't said they're going to ban it. What they are doing is stopping paying from any of the funding for paraquat. So anyone putting in bids for projects, so this is for the SAFPROM project that they were speaking about yesterday. They won't be providing any money for the purchase of paraquat because of the danger that it presents.
Which is
That
amazing.
was their reason, which
It's a big step.
excellent first step.
Yeah.
So one more thing that I have forgotten to mention is that currently in the States, there is huge litigation going on of people suing people for spraying paraquat and all the diseases that they've gotten because of it. So if we don't look at least heavily restricting it here sometime soon, I think a lot of people are going to be in trouble.
A lot of the companies will be sued.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because safety isn't really big in Samoa, especially when using this. As you have mentioned, you need to at least put on full safety to be able to, you know, have access to that.
Should,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anyone use any safety things for any. I don't even see chefs put.
Just like mowing the lawn, you don't need glasses or safety for your eyes.
Think all around, like once I think if we put pressure on this, that everyone else will just trickle in like everyone will start using safety gear. And it should be, I don't know if they have farming schools, but they should already promote that. Like anybody that's part of Saffron has to be using all of this. Before we go, is there any last words that you want to say to anyone out there?
Sign the petition, please. We need your support. We need to show the government that people don't want this dangerous chemical in their houses anymore.
Yes. Please don't forget to look up on Facebook, APS Animal Protection Society, also with Brown Girl Woke. We might have an event just to have people come in or go into the university to promote this. Let this be our first protest on Paraquat. If you want to be a part of it, please message us. But thank you again for coming. We'll have you on again.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And we'll be right back with Goshen Trust and the medical students. Thank you for tuning in. Talofa, and good morning, and welcome back to Generation for Tomorrow, a TV show that is about taboo issues, especially with youth, promoting youth voices. I'm really excited to be here with co-host Tia. Her partner in crime is across the country, probably having his best life, playing rugby, eating KFC, while Tia is by herself running the show.
Over here. Talafalava Samoa, and welcome back from that short commercial break. If you are just tuning in, as Doris has said, this is Generation for Tomorrow. So, without further ado, introducing our second segment with our beautiful and handsome, amazing guest this morning. Talafalava, guys, and welcome to Generation for Tomorrow. So,
Good
ladies
morning.
first. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Okay. So good morning, everyone, and good morning to those who are watching. My name is TRINA. I am a 22-year-old fourth-year medical student, and currently I'm studying in the medical field at the School of Medicine at MATETAU. So a lot of you guys don't know that we have a medical school. So we do have two medical schools, the OUM, or the Oceania University of Medicine, as well as the School of Medicine, which is our own medical school locally. So currently I'm doing my clinical attachments at the psychiatric units or the mental units. Yes, we do have a mental health unit at our hospital. So, and this is our second week. So what we've seen so far in our mental unit, with a lot of patients came in with condition known as psychosis. And I'll explain a little bit more about psychosis. Yeah. And so for us, it's usually common the age between 10 to 19, but it can affect those 20 above. So psychosis is one of those conditions that alter your mental status and then affect your brain to function well, and then gives you the capability to decide what is real and what isn't. And I think addiction is the main one that causes this condition. As we all know, drug addiction is the main one here in Samoa. So a lot of people don't know. They think that taking drugs such as heroin, codeine, and alcohol, it helps relax the issue, it helps relieve stress. However, they didn't know the mechanism behind taking it. So, for the pathophysiology of alcohol-induced that causes psychosis is. So usually there is the important neurotransmitter in the brain known as the dopamine. So if we take a lot of these drugs, as I mentioned before, it will causes the brain to overactive and lead to that person to do hyperactive things that are not usually doing their daily life activities. So yeah, so it's one of the things that we've seen so far in our mental health units.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Such awareness. And to the only gentleman in the room, welcome.
To everyone and to Samoa, thank you for having us. My name is Junior Albert AVEALALO. I am a fourth-year medical student, currently study under the School of Medicine, such as my colleague already mentioned the details. Yes, we are currently rotating under the mental health unit under the supervision of Dr. George Tuitama. Today, it's a privilege to have this talk and also have an opportunity to have a say in the Generation for Tomorrow youth mental health. So globally, it is 1 in 4 10 to 19 years old have mental health disorders, according to the MOH stats, which is 30%. Also depression, anxiety, and also behavioral disorders, which are the leading causes as well, which cause youth mental health disorders. And suicide is the fourth leading causes, which age group of 15 to 29, and in our case in Samoa, those are the age group that we've been seeing so far. And also, yes, the drug chemical that we guys just talked about, yes, one of which is causes of youth used. In our cases, in mental health units, the cases that we've been seeing so far are substance-induced psychosis, such as my colleague have already mentioned, and also schizophrenia, so which is one of the most common one as well that we've seen. So schizophrenia is one of the psychotic disorders which has hallucinations and delusion symptoms. To differentiate the two, hallucinations are sensory functions that you have those sensory nerves, but there's no external forces or fixation. But delusion, these are fixed but false beliefs that we have, but these are due to the substance induced, so like alcohol, also smoking as well, all the risk factors, and also drugs, marijuana and cocaine as well we've been seeing so far. So, and currently we have a patient that we are treating under our mental health unit. I cannot disclose the details for confidentiality, but yes, we do have services for mental health disorders. Yes, and it is free. It's a free service. We have a clinic in front. We have a special like a building for that. So it's really a special branch of medicine. So we have clinics, and also we consult them. We have consult sessions, and so from there we see how much the severity of patient we have.
I think my question is, because I know you guys usually, because you say substance induced, so you're not saying that it's because of drugs. Can it be just a chemical imbalance, and then they use drugs to escape from it, and then just makes it worse? Or are you saying that some of the mental health, like you have mental health issues, and then usually kids will use something to escape from it because they don't understand it, especially when you talk about schizophrenia. Like when I think about it, our culture can like take a toll and maybe think, oh, you're seeing ghosts, you need to go get full, instead of go to the mental health unit. But at the same time, I want to make sure that it's clear that it's not only substance abuse. It could be just something that's happening chemically, and then alcohol or drugs actually make it worse.
Yeah. So yes, of course, those are. So first of all, there are risk factors. So risk factors can be social, and can be also from behavioral, or also can be genetic as well. You have your hormones, just as one of the examples that my colleague have already mentioned, dopamine. And yes, it can also be from, you can go from alcohol, but it can be from genetic as well, passed down from there. So one of our practice is history taking, and that's one of the vital part we do in our service. So we ask questions such as family history of the patient. Are there any other family members who have same mental health disease, and also risk factors? We have to target those as well. Yes, but yes, to answer that question, it's not only just substance that causes these diseases, but it can be genetic as well.
I think it's really hard, especially when you ask about history, because these are things that we don't talk about. People don't want to talk about, mental health issues or, problems that we have, especially history. Like, especially how people, sometimes, people will say, oh yeah, her mom was crazy, that's why she's crazy. So it becomes something that you don't want to talk about. I know you guys only been in the mental health for 2 weeks. Is this something that you might pursue?
So far we've seen. So actually, when we do have two kinds of patients: the Avakasi ones and the Samoan ones. So the Samoan ones, they usually came in with their parents, but then the Avakasi ones, so the Palangi ones, they usually came alone. So and then the first question that we ask is, are you confident, me as a medical student, to take the history, or you want to prefer other senior colleagues, or you want Dr. George to do the history? And then majority of them, they prefer Dr. George because of the experience that he's had, and also with he's the only psychiatry in our country. So yes, that's why. But I do believe that the depression and anxiety is also another thing for the youth, especially those who went on scholarship and then they came back. If they can't cope with the condition, then they think that alcohol and it's the only solution, but it's not. The only. I think I myself think that alcohol is the only solution. Because medicine is not an easy field. So usually I think it's the best solution. But when I went there and do my attachments, like, oh no, it's not. Yeah, it's not really.
I think because it's accessible. Alcohol is accessible. It's cheap. We have to think about our country. Minimum wage is 3 tala. At the end of the week, what can you afford? A lot of the work that we do, we have to realize what families are going through. And I've heard stories of, youth that go on scholarship and the pressures from their parents and making sure the expectations. But it's discussions that our whole unit, our whole family need to talk about. The mental health unit, anyone could come in, right?
Yes.
So what's the procedure if somebody's at home watching in and they feel like they have depression or no one understands them? They can come in like you said, they could come in by themselves. They don't need to come with an adult.
So the thing is, a lot of people don't know that we have a mental health unit. Maybe if we do more advertisements that we do have a mental health unit, and then then a lot of people will notice that we do have a mental health unit. But so they could contact us through 767-6229, or they could come in, because few people know the stuff's there, and so I think it has to do with connections. That's why people know the mental health unit. But then maybe 80% of our Samoan people don't know that we have a mental health unit. But yes, if you feel like you do need therapy or anything like that, then yes, you are most welcome to come in and free charge. Yeah.
And it's free.
Yeah.
Yes, and they do have therapy.
Yes.
I know someone that I just recently found out that one of my close friends is doing therapy over there. I did not know that. Free therapy, imagine that, in Samoa. And as I was just sitting here and observing, the stats, as you guys have mentioned, the age, it's mostly youth that's being affected with mental illness. So that's more reason why we should do the work that we do, even with Brown Girl Woke. Mental illness is something that's really huge with us. But sadly, it's been like a taboo issue in Samoa, with the culture and everything else. It's really... Thank you for that. Thank you for the work that you guys do. I believe that after graduation, you guys will continue working there.
And not be the only, like you said earlier, Dr. George is the only therapist on island. I know the clinical therapist is Moana, but that's not enough. So how do we make sure medical students like you go into therapy?
Yeah.
Before I answer that, just to add on to what my colleague just mentioned, for those people who are patients or who think they have mental health conditions or disorder, signs that you can identify, like family members. So the family members are the ones who have to identify these. So first of all, if you can see that person is being isolating from you guys, staying in the room, not being especially socializing with your family members, and also not going out, like having fun. And also you can see there's a great weight loss of that person not eating. Eating can be a disorder as well, and also affects mentally. So yeah, those are some of the signs and also symptoms you have as family members you have to identify, especially a person who is watching this show. Yes, feel free to come in. We have a very friendly staff there, and they're very open to whatever your needs, and we can also counsel. And also we see patients with anxiety and depression. Man, they come in so like all the signs that they're so talkative, they're not concentrating, and we just ask them. And we yesterday we have an activity with Dr. George Tutama. We have it's called a technique called using the 4 elements. So you have earth, water, wind, and fire. So feel free to go on YouTube. You can find that. It helps to reduce anxiety and depression. So you just listen to everything that it's mentioned there, but it helps to reduce the anxiety, which is one of the counseling session that we do. So psychotherapy that we have been doing as well in mental health units. But we don't go jump like straight away to medications. We need to identify what the patient is coming in for. So, and then from there we do a planning for each patient. So we have a lot of patients, and also we provide a community service as well. So we do a community, we go out, we see the patients, and we do their medications and injections as well. We have to see them and make sure they take their pills as well. So it can be non-compliance. So if they're non-compliance, which is another risk factor of getting relapse or getting and also if they are taking medication, they should be taking it, and also they should avoid drinking alcohol, and also and marijuana as well, which is one of the things that we've been observing in mental health units. But it's a very best area to work as well. And I advise the youth, feel free, and also to come and
check it out.
and also apply to a school of medicine. We need more doctors. We still need more doctors to serve our country and our community as well. And it's not only us, we have like mental health units, and we need the family support as well. We have a part as well, you have a part as well to play. And also we have Samoa is a Christian nation, and we have church fellowship, and also the pastor can be one of the counselor. And so it can help as well. But yes, due to some patients who are not opening up, they can feel free to come by themselves, or they can be brought in there by their relatives. But yes, thank you very much.
And you're right, it has to be a family unit. And I could only imagine, I know this is a different generation of youth, and I know parents that might not understand, like, mental health, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, they might think their children are being makaganga, but it's not. It's a different generation where they're not learning from the plantation anymore. We don't have that. We have way more kids going back into university and schools, looking online, looking what's happening around the world, that we need to talk to them more. We need to know what's happening. And a lot of, like, we've seen that, spanking or discipline is not the same as before. The message is not getting across. And if you don't know information, that's when the family comes in. Hopefully you have an aunt or uncle or another relative that could come in and step in and talk to your parents or a pastor. There's too much people in our Samoan community that can step in. It takes a village to raise a child. But we're hoping that that if you're watching, that there's at the end of this, that this is a mental health talk, that we have a mental health unit. Anything else, Tia?
And we have the School of Medicine. Who could imagine? Before we leave, I'd like to ask, do you guys have any last words for the young, aspiring youth out there that wants to be just like you when they grow up? Or any shout-outs? Feel free.
Yeah, just a message for which is the topic, youth mental health. So the consequences of failing to address youth mental health disorder or conditions will affect the adulthood of everyone. So we are youth right now, and growing up, it will be affect us physically and mentally. And from there, we can fulfill what we can potentially be achieve greatly, our goals. And yes, and I like the topic is Generation for Tomorrow. And yes, it's a very great talk. And it's good we are addressing these issues right now, so that we pave a way for the future generation as well. So yeah, and also yes, we have a school of medicine. And
Please join.
yeah, yes, please join. And
Yes, to the beautiful. Last words.
Yeah, I just wanna say this in Samoa, because we have parents that don't, Yeah. Okay, so we do. So the mental health unit is. So you can ask as you enter the hospital. You can ask anyone, because they already know, and then they will give you directions. So it's way at the back, if you are not confident in calling us or contacting us. And then another thing, we do have old staff members if you're not confident with the young ones, and as well as our youth young staff members. Yeah, just to make sure that you are confident. But yes, because mental health, there are three main branches of mental: psychological, emotional, as well as social well-being. So if you see any of these alterations in your life, then yes, you have a mental health issue. And then you're most welcome to come in or contact us. And thank you so much for having us as well. Thank you.
Yes, as you said, we're going to need therapy after all this work. But yes, thank you very much for making time. Being a medical student is really hard, and also being in the area of mental health. It's going to be, but hats off to you guys. We need more people like you in that area of work. So thank you very much for dedicating your life to our generation for tomorrow. And before we leave, I'd like to pass on to my boss. Any shout outs, maybe to your son that's watching?
Yeah, just again, we do have a mental health unit at the hospital. Excuse me. And just like they said as well, it manifests into your life later. So, and for our generation to be healed and to break generational curses that have happened to us before, this is the time that we break those. And that we need to understand that, again, like what they said, you might feel like if you're not telling somebody what's happening to you, you're okay.
Yeah.
Later on, it'll come into your work, it'll come into your relationships, it will come into your school, your kids. So you want to break that. So thank you for tuning in today. Again, thank you to the amazing medical students. We pray for you. It's your fourth year.
thank you.
And please, I know they need more medical students so we can have a medical school in Samoa. So please be a part of that. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.